Crash Course History, hosted by John Green, but also sometimes his brother Hank and others, is a fantastic resource and honestly one of the treasures of our time. At Crash Course, they do a great job of compounding events to their most pure elements, while also keeping in enough detail and nuance to keep things true and interesting. Crash Course History has released series on American, European, world, and big history, each with their own unique narrative arc and lens, because of course.
If you're, say, a novelist, you'll probably see history as a series of narratives, and you'll insert narrative even when it doesn't necessarily exist. How we frame historical questions is extremely important.
But what happens when we take all those disparate narratives of history and put them in chronological order? Well, let's take a look. The first thing I noticed was how well the narrative flows across geography. My main goal in combining all the Crash Course history videos was to get a nice overall compilation, drawing connections between the different narratives, and I think that it turned out better than I even expected. It really fleshes out the story of humanity, and provides a lot more context when you take the big picture view. For example, it's nice to have the French Revolution, American Revolution, Haitian Revolution, and South American revolutions all alongside each other in detail, to see the influences and similarities between them. And I also found it interesting to see how the origins of big history flowed into early human civilization and then flowed smoothly into even more standard history. Overall, I believe this is by far the best way to view Crash Course history, and watching it all in this way, back to back to back, really gives a wide and deep view of the world we live in. I would highly recommend you watch it, which brings me to the other point, of how I compiled the order. Of course, a lot of Crash Course history videos cover long spans of time, and some have significant overlap. In those cases, I did my best to determine which time period had the most focus in the video, and I put it in the timeline at that place. For example, the video on nonviolent protest movements covers everything from Gandhi in the 1930s to Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1960s. So I put the video in the 1930s because that was closer to the movement's origin, and Gandhi was the main focus of the video. The other interesting case was when a certain topic is covered from many perspectives. For example, Crash Course contains a lot of videos on World War II, from world history, European history, and American history, showing the perspectives of soldiers and civilians from various countries. In cases like this, I tried to arrange the videos in chronological order as best I could, but also thematic order to keep the flow. For example, America was one of the last countries to join World War II, and America became a huge focus of world history in the post-war period, so I put the video of World War II from the American perspective at the end of that section in the playlist. So, without further ado, I present my extensive playlist of all the Crash Course history videos arranged in chronological order, from World History 1 and 2, European History, American History, and Big History. I encourage you all to leave your opinions, corrections, and suggestions in the comments of this video, so that everyone can see them, because the other videos in the playlist will be directly from the Crash Course channel, and not connected to this playlist itself. Also, please check out my channel for other interesting educational videos, or go straight to the chronological Crash Course playlist here. I hope you enjoy the playlist, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on it. Thanks for watching.